Hello, everyone. I'm John Evans, and welcome to another episode of One-on-One. Influential, visionary, a pioneer. Just some of the words people have used to describe Chip Mahan's impact on the banking industry. He broke the mold with Live Oak Bank, eliminating branches, going to his customers instead of waiting for them to walk through the front door. He founded Live Oak Bank and is still the chairman and CEO. Live Oak came more than a decade after Chip founded the world's first internet-only bank, an idea that grew out of a dinner conversation.
My brother-in-law had a security software firm in Atlanta, Georgia, called Secureware. And he owned it all. And he did very, very difficult Unix-level operating system work for the Department of Defense. This was in 1993.
Okay.
So his guys were kind of at the first of the internet. We were having dinner one night, and he said, this internet's going to be a big thing.
Oh, so it was actually at a dinner conversation.
He and I were having dinner together. A couple of glasses of wine later, he described to me what it was. I had no idea what the internet was.
Right.
And I said, well, why don't we put a bank on the internet? And he said, that's stupid. you don't want to do that. What we need to do is put Quicken on the web.
Okay.
So you remember the product Quicken.
Quicken loans, yes.
Not the loans. Now, this was Quicken, where you have basically your balance sheet.
Oh, okay.
You have
all right.
all your assets, all your liabilities, and all that.
Right.
So let's make that interactive. So then I said, well, tell me how that would work. Well, there's this browser. So tell me what a browser is. Well, there's this company called Netscape that just started in San Francisco. So let's go see them. So we went to see Jim Barksdale and Mark Andreessen when they had 8 employees.
Wow.
So that's about as early as you can get in the internet
Sure.
days.
And was there what was the biggest hurdle along the way? Just grasping the concept, or were there other hurdles along the way?
Well, my first idea was let's just advertise CDs on the internet at one of our banks in Kentucky, because we had multiple what I call pig path banks in the middle of nowhere, Appalachia. And he said, no, let's really see if we can replicate Quicken. So we were going to get Netscape to actually help us do that, write the software. And I'll never forget it. Jim Clark was the founder of Sun Microsystems, and he was in the meeting, along with Jim Barksdale, who was the former president and chief executive officer of FedEx.
Okay.
And this 22-year-old kid, Mark Andreessen, who fundamentally created the first browser in the world. They said, we'll do that for you. And, well, how much will that cost? So it cost $1 million, $1.5 million, and we own the source code. I said, well, that sounds good. My brother-in-law and I get in the car, and he says, that's stupid. He said, we have to own the source code. I said, what's the source code? so we're learning in the early days.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we did it ourselves.
When you were growing up in Kentucky, was banking ever in the back of your mind? What did a young James Mahan want to do when he was growing up?
Well, we had a little bit of trauma in our family. So my father worked for an oil company in Ashland, Kentucky. And at the time, we were living in Buffalo, New York. And he and 13 other men were killed in a company plane crash when I was 11.
Wow.
So we moved back and lived with my grandparents on the family farm in Frankfort, Kentucky. And no, I had no idea about the banking business. Decided because a friend went to Washington Lee University in Lexington, Virginia, that I would go to see what that's like, because I wanted to move out of the state and see what was new. And then one thing led to another, and then I went to work for Wachovia Bank, because the president of the fraternity before I was, and the president before that, and the president before that went to work for the Wachovia Bank. So that's how I got into the banking business.
Okay, yeah.
In 1973.
Right, after you graduated from Washington Elite.
That's correct.
Did you have any inkling then, any ideas that you tucked in the back of your mind about banking that you wanted to reinvent it in any way? Or when did the whole, was it just that one dinner conversation that sparked the entire internet banking?
Well, so a little bit more on that, right? So Wachovia was probably the finest bank, certainly in the Southeast, and some would say the land at that time. And but it was a big bank. So I went to my boss in my early 20s and said, you have me making commercial loans, so I analyze financial statements all day about this business or that business and the income statement, the balance sheet, and the risk. So tell me how you run a bank. Crickets.
I was going to say.
Well, he knew his job, but he didn't know how to run the bank.
Okay.
So I bought a book to learn about the assets and liabilities and income statement of a bank. And then probably when I was 28, maybe, something like that, 27, it became clear to me that my family's goal of me working at one place for the rest of my life because they're depression babies was probably not going to work. That you're either an owner or an employee. That's binary, right?
Right, yeah. A or B, right.
It's A or B.
Right.
And so I started to look at buying a rental equipment company franchise when I was 28 to see if I could do something on the side, and that didn't work out. And then I came up with the idea to do a hostile takeover of my community bank in Frankfort, Kentucky, and we could go on for hours about how I crashed and burned there, but that was a failed strategy as well.
But it seems to me, in doing the research that I've done in the past couple of days getting ready, you said that didn't work out. In talking to people, and admittedly, I don't have a business mindset, but you have people that say, it didn't work out, or it failed, or I just didn't know what to do then. It didn't work out is a mantra for, okay, that didn't work, but something else will. It's a mindset. Have you always found that out?
Yeah, entrepreneurs or. Garth Brooks has a great song called Standing Outside the Fire, right? So my wife and I, when we go through these things and, we get a piece of paper, yellow pad, write down the positives and negatives, and then I'd always have to throw it in the trash can because I can't live with myself if we don't try this. And people that are like us, you never, ever think of failure. It's just a temporary setback, and you go, and you go, and you go, and you hire great folks, and then you go again.
So it's always trying something new, the new challenge, the next challenge along the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you kind of take what the market gives you. Every time I've ever done anything, it was going to be, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the president and chief executive officer of the Wachovia Bank on July the 9th, 1973. And then I'm going to build the best regional banking company in the state of Kentucky. And then we're going to put the first bank on the internet in October of 1994. And we're going to change the world because there are going to be no branches, because there's going to be this wicked fast pipe that's going to go into your cell phones and everything in the 90s. Well, that finally happened, and it's 2018, right?
Right, yeah.
And now we have probably the largest challenge in the history of the banking business is about ready to be fixed.
And that is?
Yeah, so if you ask any banker today, a community banker in Wilmington, North Carolina, or Jamie Dimon at J.P. Morgan Chase, what keeps you up at night? Amazon. Okay, Amazon, they sell books. Oh, they do more than that. Yeah, so he bought 457 grocery stores. He owns rocket ships. He owns the Washington Post in your business.
Right.
In 2006, he decided to allow others to use his computers. Amazon Web Services will do $19 billion in revenues this year. Every bank in the United States and fundamentally the world operate on ancient legacy systems. Ancient. You can't innovate. You can't go digital overnight because you're beholden to these ancient legacy systems. My guys are giddy these days about the ability to reduce cost exponentially and fundamentally recreate the App Store. So if you think about what Jobs did, right?
Right.
What is a phone? It's not a competitor to AT&T.
Right.
It's a railroad. There are 5 million applications on your phone.
Right.
Right? And it's best of breed. It's open. So you're going to pick the best application.
What you want.
You can't do that in the banking business today. You're going to get at any big bank whatever they have to offer in these old legacy systems. So you're going to see a sea change in the next 5 to 10 years of banks fundamentally trying to offer fully digital products and services and not be beholden to this incredible fixed cost business they have today, which are branches and tellers and customer service reps. So how many times have you spoken to someone at the call center at Apple, at Uber, at Amazon? It's all self-service, and it's fully digital.
Right.
My wife gets a package every day from Amazon for our granddaughters, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
She's never spoken to a human being.
Right.
So if we in the banking business, the largest industry in the world, financial institutions, do not fix this, somebody else will.
And was that with Live Oak? You took the branches out of the equation.
We did.
But you did more than that in my mind. And as I looked at this, instead of having customers come to you, you go to the customer. And you go and see them rather than waiting for them to walk in the door on South College Road or Shipyard Boulevard. That was another sea change to a person like me, not in the business itself.
Well, that's true, John. So ours is a different business model. So if you think about a normal bank operates in a geographic area, and it builds branches to collect deposits and makes some loans, and they make most of the loans downtown. Right.
Right.
And they make loans to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
Anybody who walks in the door.
And that's what they do. And we said, why can't we leverage a government guaranteed program in all 50 states? So the SBA guarantees 75% of the loans that we make. And they have a lot of data. So they allow us to lend to 1,100 industries. So why don't we pick those industries to lend to where they pay you back best?
Right. Which is what you started on. Veterinarians was the first one, right?
Well, we did, but think about reverse engineering the thesis of banking. So if you're the chief credit officer of XYZ Bank in Wilmington, North Carolina, you need to know everything about those industries in your town. We basically said, let's expand this to the United States of America. Let's hire someone that has actually operated these businesses, have them own stock in our bank, advise our credit people, say, what is the credit box?
Right.
Then send our folks out there, because we recognize there are 28 million small businesses in this country that create 66% of the new jobs. Yeah. So you go on the plane and you go sit down with John. Does he have the eye of the tiger, whether he's a veterinarian, a pharmacist, a funeral director? Right. So a quick service resident. We're in 22 different industries today. Yeah. But we take that seriously, because we're going to be in business with you for 25 years. And most of the time, it's about 99% our money and about 1% your money, because you don't have any money. Right. And the startup, or you're buying the veterinarian across the street or something like that.
But it's also in the video that we saw at the breakfast that we were at a couple of weeks ago. A young person, a young farmer at that point in time wanted the loan, but this is somebody who then turns around and services the community by growing the crops, or growing the
chickens.
Providing chickens in his case, providing eggs, providing different services. Again, it's community oriented. The veterinarian who takes care of, even Chip has a pet at the house. People who are really important to the community. So, but you went at it a different way. Instead of taking a Ford Taurus, you decided to take one of the two company planes and actually go and see these people in their home.
We do. We see them at their place of business, and we go over the budget, because we know one thing about your budget. Right. It's wrong. You're either going to beat it or you're not. Right. And then every 90 days, we're going to get a financial statement from you. We have 40 22-year-olds that service our loans, and we're going to go over that budget. We have 2 full-time veterinarians on staff. Right. We have built 350 websites for veterinarians. So if something goes bump in the night, we're there to help. Because if it really, really goes bad, we get nothing back. So we're trying to get you back on your feet so you can go back to business and pay our loan back.
Yeah. As you were growing and as you were going through Cardinal Bank shares and S1 and then the First Internet Bank Security First, what were you learning along the way? I know everybody learns in college, but I probably learned more in a 3-month internship at a television station during the summer of my junior and senior year than I ever learned in a textbook. What were you learning along the way that has made Live Oak and nCino so successful as they are now?
It's your folks. I think, particularly relative to those two companies, if you have a great business model and the barrier to entry is large, then if you start with your folks and you really, really spoil them, so you talk about our place, right? So
Sure.
we do pay at the top of the scale. We do have a 6% 401k match.
Free health care.
Free, complete health care. We have, we started off paying, as you know, I said the other day when you and I were together, fitness expert, a trainer, so to speak, for all of our folks. We're in the process of building a 25,000 square foot fitness center. We do have 3 airplanes that can make it to San Francisco in any condition, so you can get home at night. And what does that mean? That means that you are important to me. Not so much me and my role, but if you hire like-minded folks, the last thing in the world that they will do is let a teammate down.
Right.
And then if you continue to treat every customer like the only customer in the bank, the shareholder's going to be just fine. And then success begets success, because we're one of the most profitable banks in the United States.
Yes.
Which means we can use those profits to continue to grow the bank and not sell more shares and dilute ourselves. It's a little bit, just as a quick aside, to me the most unbelievable business in the history of the United States is Chick-fil-A. The quick service restaurant business average revenue is about $800,000. McDonald's is the gold standard. They do about $2.5 million. Chick-fil-A does twice that. It's I think it's probably like an $8 or $9 billion business.
Right.
They've never sold a share, and they've never borrowed a dime. Name me another business on the planet that is 7 or 8 or 9 billion in revenues, and they never diluted the existing owners, and they never borrowed a dime, because those people that run those stores are important to them.
Right.
And you run one store, and I run another, and it's not going to be you're going to get this territory and get rich and have boats and airplanes. It's like, so it's a business model unlike any other.
Right.
And when you find those business models, if you treat your folks right, then everybody wins.
Even your buildings won awards. That's how good that campus is out there off Shipyard and Independence. You really, when you set out to make this top notch for your people.
Look, John, it's all about attracting and retaining talent, and anybody can build a brick building or have a bank that looks like a bank downtown. And we spent a lot of time in the technology company on the West Coast, and we wanted something that was kind of cool and different. You know, we're in the process of building 3 more buildings now.
Right.
Because we have unlimited scalability. You know, we're in 20 industries today. The SBA allows you to lend to 1,100.
So you're still growing.
Oh yeah, we're still growing like a weed. And,
right.
And I tell my guys, and I think this is true at nCino too. First pitch, maybe bottom of the first. We got a long way to go here. If you can continue to hire those folks, because that was really the answer to the other question.
Right.
All this, what did you learn? Hire really great folks. Let them go. Trust them. Mm-hmm. Trust is also binary. You know, do you or you don't.
Yeah, you talked that day about trust and love being big in your home and your business.
It is. It's everything, and it can be. It's not, you know, what other people think of business people as being cutthroat and, you know, making money at the closing table and all that. I think if you have the right attitude, everybody wins.
What's the three-legged stool? Where did you come up with that concept?
Oh, that's not my concept. I mean, you know, anybody in business basically says that's who your constituents are. You have your folks, you have your customers, and you have your shareholders. And most people, I think most businessmen focus more on the shareholder. Well, I can replace those people. Mm-hmm. Really? I can replace that customer. Really? You know, success, again, begets success, because if you look at the 1,000 veterinarians that we do business with, it's kind of interesting. So there's kind of a Facebook for veterinarians called the Veterinary Information Network. And you have to be a veterinarian to go on there, so you got to log in with your number. Well, we have veterinarians on staff, so we follow that, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's interesting what they say about other banks, and it's very soothing what they say about our bank.
Yeah.
Because we truly care. We want to be in this business forever. That's why we have one group that makes presentations every single year to all 28 vet colleges. So you can say, why are you wasting your time with a vet college? Because they're not going to practice forever. I mean, to own their own business forever. Well, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah, I was going to say that they will some point in time.
And we'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When nCino came to light, A, how did that come out, and B, how difficult was it to spin that off, and C, I guess, are you surprised at how well that has done?
I'm not sure that I can keep up with all of this. So the reason we may have
I was thinking
you can think better in threes than I can, John. So we had a problem, right? So at Live Oak Bank, we make a very document sensitive, intense loan. Each one of our loans typically has about 140 or 50 documents. And when you're trying to scale that organization in 3 time zones in all 50 states, and you're trying to perfect the handoff between the lending officer, the underwriter, the closer, and the servicer, and you're trying to treat every customer like the only customer of the bank, you got to get all that data in one place. So we came up with the idea to write our own code on the Salesforce.com platform in 2008 and 2009. And when it became exponentially easier than our previous experience at S1 Corporation, because the technology stack and the architecture was much more conducive to speed. And then we said, well, look, we have total confidence in our folks. Why don't we let other banks use this? Because I'm happy for them to use it and compete with us, because I got the confidence in our folks that we'll win. And that's where Pierre Naudet comes in. So Pierre Naudet and I were in business together in Atlanta, and he has just strapped that company on his back and done amazing things.
He's impressive. I've heard him speak at a couple different events. Met him a couple of times, but just impressive man.
Yeah, he's a South African. He is a wonderful leader. He now has 600 folks with a budget to hire another 150 this year, opening offices, and we have 35 people in London, probably going to open an office in Sydney, Australia. Very charismatic leader, and I think we have an advantage, not only because it will be impossible to catch us, nCino and Pierre, because of the lead we have on the Salesforce platform. Here's one thing that I know is happening in the Silicon Valley today. Every engineer, every day, is looking at LinkedIn. They're looking for the next gig. Mm-hmm. They want their options to vest on the way to lunch. Their loyalty is to themselves and making money and doing it again and again. If we can get you a 10x engineer, so that's the way it is in software engineers. You have guys and gals that are like 10 times better than if we can get those guys.
The best of the best.
If we get those guys and gals to Wilmington, North Carolina, and we spoil you, and we give you all those benefits and all those things we talked about earlier, why would you leave?
Well, where are you going to go? Yeah.
Why would you leave?
Why did you pick Wilmington?
That's a good question. So I was running that internet banking company, S1 Corporation in Atlanta, and my wife, and we've been together since we were 11.
Oh boy, that's longer than my wife and I have. Yeah.
That's a long time, parts. Yeah. Got breast cancer. In 2001, and our previous experience at Wachovia in Winston-Salem was that we had to take a week off a year. That's federal banking law. And Lee Williams and Beth Williams here in town have been our best friends forever, Lewis Farms, the Strawberry Patch. So we would come down to Wrightsville Beach on our vacation in our 20s. So when Peggy got breast cancer, I did some research, and clearly Sloan Kettering in New York City would be the #1 breast clinic in the world. But Duke University was considered #2. So I quit. We moved to Wilmington to be close to Duke. Peggy's doing fantastic today. That's 17 years ago.
Yeah, God bless her.
And that's that's an epidemic. I mean.
Yeah, my wife is 8 years cancer-free, coming up breast cancer survivor.
So you and I have that common.
Yeah, we do.
It's hard.
And I'm going to ask you, when that came up, were you concerned that you weren't going to be as good a caregiver as she deserved? Because that's what I thought.
Yeah, all someone gave me a hint when we did that, and that was when every time we were at the doctors, and all the doctors, all the doctors, right, was just take copious notes, so we could get back into the house and review, because her mind was elsewhere.
Sure.
And we had great care, and as you know, it's hard.
It is.
It's really hard. And we had some great help, and we got through it.
But and to the point is, before that happened, I couldn't see myself emptying a bulb syringe. I couldn't see myself rewrapping gauze, putting it. I fainted at the sight of blood when I was younger. I mean, literally, I couldn't see myself doing that. But you do it because you need to do it. And I'm just wondering if you had those same kind of thoughts.
Yeah, it was tough, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you don't look back.
Yeah, and then Wilmington became the HQ. Along the way, 2007. I guess you're coming up on 10 years now for Live Oak.
We are.
2008, 2009, economy starts to slow down. Concerns in your mind at that time? What were you thinking then?
So the FDIC. Here's how it works to start a bank. You got to go to the state banking commissioner.
Right.
And the state banking commissioner says, I agree with your plan for success. And then you have to get deposit insurance. So without deposit insurance, you really don't have a bank. Well, because we were so weird with no branches, just lending money to veterinarians, we had challenges with the FDIC. I met with Sheila Bair, the chairperson of the FDIC, twice.
Okay.
And we finally got our charter on May the 8th. May the 12th, 2008. As you well know, in September 2008, the world came to an end.
Sure, yeah.
We had not, and remember, we make a loan, package it, and sell it. And we sell it, and we make a profit. And we use those revenues to pay for our folks. So we couldn't sell a loan. So we were losing a lot of money.
Right.
And the FDIC chief Atlanta office lady called me and said, I want you in my office tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
Now, I will tell you a little bit about, John, the federal banking regulators. They are undefeated.
Untied and unscored upon.
Unscored upon, and they don't blink. They stare at you.
Yeah.
You could put their fingers up on the table and chop them off, and they still won't blink.
Yeah.
And she said, Mr. Mahan, I want you to sell or liquidate this bank.
Really?
She did. And I said, no, ma'am. We have $140 million of commitments to female veterinarians, primarily. 80% of vets are females.
Right.
And we're going to stay the course. You got to do what you got to do. We got to take care of our customers. So they backed down, and we're still standing. And
boy, what a conversation that must have been, or what a flight down there that must have been.
It was tough. It was tough. Those were difficult times.
Who do you admire most? Who is a person that you admire, and why?
Well, that would certainly be Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. I mean, we talk every day, and kind of looking forward to that. I saw the piece on Barbara Bush last night, and
yeah.
what a wonderful lady there.
Tremendous lady.
No, but I think, it's not. Certainly, my grandfather would be at the top of the list, and he was a poor man, but he had all those proper values.
And he was a farmer?
He was later. He was a used car dealer, actually.
Oh, really?
That was about it, right?
And
that's after my dad died.
Wasn't your stepfather a veterinarian, and that's how you kind of learned a little bit about that?
Yeah, and he's still going hard.
Really?
At 92, you can't keep up with him.
92?
Yeah, he'll be 92 in September, but he's still practices.
Boy,
he won't wear a hearing aid because he thinks that his clients will think he's old, but other than that, he's fine.
His clients are animals.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you get a charge out of seeing your people succeed?
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Because I say this, and a lot of young reporters have come through the TV station since I've been in this business, and you see them come in here and they're fledglings, and they learn, and then they go to places like Charlotte, and they go to places like Richmond, and go to bigger markets, and then they grow and they blossom. Is it the same way for you to see them and just kind of pat yourself a little bit and say I had something to do with that a little bit?
It's a little bit like, so John, when I was younger, I refereed college basketball. And back at the Wachovia Bank in Winston-Salem, for some reason, everybody went to drink coffee at 9 o'clock at the cafeteria. And I worked a lot of different games, Wake Forest and others. And, the greatest compliment would be somebody went to the game, but they didn't know you reffed.
Right. Yeah.
And so let your folks take all the credit, and then great things happen.
You were received a stewardship award for creating superior workplace environment in 2014. nice, needed, necessary?
I really don't care about awards, to be honest with you. I mean, it's about taking care of your folks and taking care of your customers.
But that is taking care of your folks, kind of thing. So you're saluted for something that you were doing anyway.
Yeah, those are nice to have. We've been elected the best bank to work for in the United States.
4 straight years.
4 straight years, and we'll see if it happens again.
Yeah, Distinguished Citizen of the Year by UNC Wilmington in 2017.
Yeah, I don't know. They ran out of candidates.
Oh, come on, Chip! You got to give yourself a little bit more credit than that.
No, I really don't care about those things, to be honest with you.
But you've bettered this community in so many ways do you take a look at that in the long run any time, or are you just continuing to look forward with what you do on a daily basis?
No, I mean, to me, that's a little like you never focus on that. So when Peggy and I help others out, we do so only anonymously. We don't want our name on anything. We're only here a short period of time, and it's not ours anyway.
John Mack, the former CEO of Morgan Stanley, he was quoted in an article and said, "The magic sauce is Chip." He wasn't investing in something; he was investing in you.
Well, John, you talking about a guy to look up to and a true icon on Wall Street, and John has those qualities that we're talking about here today. It's like, so John treats everybody the same, and he's at a different level. I mean, he's doing business with presidents and the richest people in the world, but he treats everybody the same. When Peggy had cancer, we lived next door to each other at the beach. He got, I mean, naming John Mack the co-CEO of anything, that's a disaster. So he was co-CEO of First Boston, or Credit Suisse First Boston at the time, and then they fired him, or he quit or something like that, and he didn't have anything to do. So we hung out together in those days. And
right.
He's an unbelievably successful man.
But to have somebody like that say that about you is got to be very, very heartwarming, very satisfying.
I'm honored for John to say that about me.
What do you do to relax?
I love to hunt, so we do a lot of quail hunting. We go to England several times a year to shoot the grouse and the pheasant. Peggy and I have a little cottage in Florida, so we do a little fishing in Naples. We have a little cottage in the mountains, so we do a little trout fishing up there in Linville. And we have these 2 granddaughters.
Oh, I have a grandpuppy. I don't have a granddaughter or a grandson yet, but that changes your life from everything everybody tells you.
Yeah, it's nothing like it.
How can you turn it off? Can you go away and relax now? Was there a time maybe when you couldn't, as opposed to now?
Well, I think maybe early days when we didn't have all these devices and
Sure.
iPhone 10s and plus 6s or whatever you got over there. Probably not. I go to bed very early and get up very early. So even if Peggy and I are somewhere on vacation, I cannot do that. I cannot just unplug for a week, come back to 5,000 emails.
Yeah.
But try to get it done early and then relax and spend some time with the family. Yeah, we try to do that.
When is your day done?
So it starts every morning at 05:30, and then try to turn it off about 6, and then
or 6:30 following WECT news at 6, obviously. Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
right.
I'll edit that to make sure that sounds better.
Yeah, usually get home at 6, then watch Channel 6, and then 9:30 it's over.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to do something every night before you go to bed? Do you have to check the last thing? Do you have to, or can you watch a net movie and just kind of turn it off and go to sleep? There are some people who are habitual in things they have to do before they check out at night.
I would probably, I probably would check email, before I go to bed, but nothing in bed. I don't carry any devices in bed. Just go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. You've seen Wilmington grow a good deal in the 10, 12, however long it is you've been here. When I got here, South College Road wasn't even 4 lanes all the way to Monkey Junction. That shows you how long I've been here. What do you see for this community? You're an innovator, and you're bringing new jobs and making this a technology center over there in that property over there. But what do you see for this community moving in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I view this a little bit like our two businesses. I think it's, maybe second pitch, first inning here, because you've got it all. You've got the beaches, you've got a beautiful downtown layout, and it's all about attracting and retaining talent. And I think we're going to change the financial services industry, and I think I can get a lot of these businesses to move here. That said, there is a lot of duplicity in my judgment. This is not going to be popular, but I guess I'll go on and say it anyway, right? So we need to be very, very aggressive. Our politicians need to be very aggressive about attracting new industry. We probably don't need, a group here, a group there, a group here, a group there, all that administrative overhead. We're small enough in southeastern North Carolina, we probably ought to have one very well-funded voice. And I think that's probably true, too, in the 501c3 business, that we could be more efficient there, particularly using technology. We got some ideas on that. We give about $1.2 million, or maybe even more than that, this year away at Live Oak Bank, primarily, almost exclusively in Wilmington and New Hanover County, and to some in southeastern North Carolina. So, look, John, I owned – my shareholders and I owned a bank in Harlan, Kentucky. In 1925, Harlan, Kentucky had 60,000 folks. Today it has 20.
Yeah.
Hope is not their strategy. I don't know what they can do. I mean, it's in the mountains. It's not near anything. And look at us. I mean, we have everything going for us.
Sure.
The rest is our fault if we can't execute.
Is it? What do those businesses need to come here in your mind, that you were talking about getting some of those industries to come here? Do they need the incentives? Do they need plots of land? Do they need a bigger airport? Do they need rail, in your mind?
I think yes to all the above.
Okay.
Yeah. I think our politicians need to be more aggressive. We talked about a baseball stadium at the wrong time, and that was a disaster. So I thought that was a good idea. I mean, I'm not a baseball guy. And then I went to and hired a PR firm in Raleigh to advise me. And the guy basically said, we're really good at this. And you not only do you have no chance of getting a baseball stadium in 2009 or whatever it was,
right,
but I won't even represent you if you pay me. So we tried it anyway, and we lost.
Yeah.
But I think all those kind of things matter. I think, the euphoria around here at UNCW when Kevin Keats took us to 2 NCAA championships. And see people do it too. You just got to give him a little time. He had a rough year and was kind of throwing a curveball or two that nobody expected. But all that matters.
Right. And
it builds on itself. And Zito's doing a fantastic job out there. Kudos to him. He's doing so well from his surgery. But 17,000 students out there now. And
you have you've really built a pipeline to UNCW with your technology side, have you not?
We and Pierre have and nCino.
Yeah.
So I think between both companies we now have I think pretty close to 300 UNCW graduates that work in our two collective companies. So the sky's the limit there.
Yeah. It's a fun place to be, and I've noticed that it has a tendency to grow in spurts. Right now, northern downtown is the one that's growing, but
hot.
Yeah, it's the place to be right now, and your campus is also the place to be. Do you still see Wilmington being a destination in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think if we can all be aggressive,
yeah,
and part with some capital, why can't we be the next Charleston? You've been down to Charleston at night? I mean, it's a vibrant place down there.
Yes.
I mean, I'm out of there early, but it's still a vibrant place. But it's we're blessed.
We are, and I'm blessed that you were taking the time. You're such a busy guy, and people are tugging at you a lot of different ways to come and impart some of your knowledge. I had a real treat listening to you speak at the Breakfast for Communities and Schools, the Heroes Breakfast a couple of weeks ago. Do you enjoy getting the opportunity to speak to groups like that?
I would rather our guys do that, to be honest with you. Happy to help in any way we can, but I'm honored that you would have me come in today, too.
Well, I appreciate you carving out some time, and thanks, Mel, at the office for getting that time on your schedule. Chip, it's been a pleasure, and it's fun to watch you and everybody over there at Live Oak and nCino grow. You're fun to have in town, and I appreciate your time today. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks, John.
I
All the
appreciate
best.
it. Thanks once again to Chip Mahan for joining us for this week's podcast. If you want to learn more about Chip, the founder, chairman, and CEO of Live Oak Bank, you can go to liveoakbank.com. Next week, former news anchor and TV host Beth Troutman joins us. 30 years after performing at the Azalea Festival as a child, she got a call this year to be the Azalea Festival Queen.
Out of the blue, I was absolutely blown away. I was speechless when I got that phone call, and I knew that it was someone who worked with the Azalea Festival. I didn't know what the call was going to be about, and when they asked me to actually be Queen Azalea, my first reaction was I wasn't really able to form the correct words because I had, my first Azalea Festival was 1988 when I was, 10 years old or 11 years old. And I thought that Queen Azalea was the most amazing person I had ever met up until that point. And I thought it was an incredible thing, to get to be the Azalea Queen. And so in 2018, fast forward 30 years, when suddenly I was added to that list of really impressive women, really amazing people who have been Queen Azalea in the past, I was blown away. I was so humbled by it because I was so not expecting it.
That's Beth Troutman, Queen Azalea 2018, next week right here on our podcast. Do you know someone who you think would be a good interview for an upcoming episode? Please let me know about it. Send me an email, jevans@wect.com. And if you want to be notified every time we publish a brand new episode, all you have to do is subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on the platform that you get it every week. And if you send me a rating or a review by email, you could be the lucky listener we pick at random. And we'll send you one of those really cool-looking WECT travel mugs. I'm John Evans. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of One-on-One.